Hi guys, you're welcome to the show Disrupting the Status Quo, and it's your boy El Ropo. And today's topic is a wonderful one because it's about the Malians. Alright, today we have someone who's here to give us a new perspective on things, and he's here with us all the way from the abroad.
My name is Akinshola Fashawe. I'm actually the CEO of the Skins brand Limited. It's actually a company that specializes in digital marketing, consultancy management, talent management, fashion, arts, and human networking.
Today's topic is drug abuse and the socially accepted high. How is it going to be? Alright, so I'm going to start with my panelists. Okwe, why do you abuse drugs?
I don't abuse drugs.
Okay, so what I'm basically trying to ask is, what is drug abuse?
In layman terms, drug abuse is basically using drugs out of the proper prescription.
Oh, okay. So if I use Panadol for a stomachache, I'm abusing drugs.
If it was self-medication, yes.
Oh, so what
That's
is
how it
self-medication? What is drug abuse? Are they the same thing or are they different?
work hand in hand, basically.
Okay. So after talking about drug abuse, we want to talk about highness. What does medicine call highness?
It's just an increase in production of something we call the neurotransmitters. As dopamine, serotonin, they're produced in the brain, and it's just an increase in that.
Okay. And I'm sure you're as confused as I am. So let's ask somebody who is on the same page as we are. So Akinshola, what is highness? What would you regard as highness? Or what do you understand by highness?
Okay. From the context, what the word called highness.
Highness, yes.
It means a state of mind where you lose self-control. Now, the term self-control now can come from not having all your senses working. Either you high to an extent that you can't properly walk well, you high to an extent that you can't properly drive well due to eyesight. There are different instances that come with the term highness.
Highness, okay.
So, some school of thought will always argue that highness can, in terms of self-control, is another way of abuse. Some can say highness is a way of addiction, like constantly using a particular drug over and over and over and using it. So it leads to abuse. So, but for my own case, I am thinking that everybody has though in a way you have to be medically guided when it comes to using of your drugs, but everybody abuses drugs. Everybody's one way of high or low.
Okay, so he just said that everybody abuses drugs. And from the way he said it, our resident pharmacist was not very happy with the term everybody abuses drugs. So Ini, what do you have to say to that? Because I saw your reaction. You were like, it's not me. I don't insult drugs.
No, that was actually not for him. When he said, thought he threw a shade at Okwe. Because Okwe already said she does not abuse drugs, which although you know that they would normally say that doctors make the worst patients. You know.
I agree.
Yes.
Okay, so you're agreeing that you
But not in the case of
drug abuse.
So now you're telling us before everybody now that when they ask you to take anti-malaria, you always complete your dose.
Yes, I do.
Antibiotics.
I think she's speaking for herself.
Okay, sorry.
I'm basically speaking for myself.
So she doesn't abuse drugs.
So when you have headache or you get home from work you find yourself having headache, you don't say, let me take paracetamol. Or what you just say is that since I'm a doctor, I'm prescribing that for myself. And take it.
So
You go back to the hospital.
Okay, sorry, let me come in here, guys. Now, as a psychologist, what we call drug abuse is misuse and overuse of drugs. It's different from self-medication, like she said earlier.
Bam.
But then self-medication rather,
they go hand in
exactly.
hand.
It's not exactly misuse or overuse.
Okay.
Because if I have a headache, I don't have to go to the hospital to take Panadol for my headache. I know I should use paracetamol.
But then you know that relax please a minute. But you know that an increased blood pressure can result to you having that headache. So you taking that paracetamol now, do you think that it would have helped with that headache?
Yes, it would help because are you saying for every symptom we feel we should always go to the hospital? Because I have health insurance, I have a headache, I run to the hospital even though I don't have hypertension. I know I'm just stressed, and maybe if I sleep it off or just take paracetamol, that's not wrong.
So if you sleep it off and then it doesn't go, what do? You go back to taking paracetamol again, because that is what most people tend to.
That would be misuse and overuse, because I already took
If I actually
dosage
check it now,
earlier.
where she came by saying like it's not every symptoms that somebody has to always go to the hospital. However, from the outside world, the essence why they create health insurance, the essence why they create hospitals, there's always development. It's because of this kind of situations, these decisions, that at any given time you feel sick,
You can walk in.
you should walk into the hospital.
Okay.
You should never, at any point in time, self-medicate.
Okay, so I'm going to direct this question to Ini. You know, so people do, I know my body. Anytime I feel the pain in my right knee, I know that that's malaria. That is how people self-medicate. What, as a pharmacist, what is your, I know you are against it, but what is your take on it, and how do you advise people to go about it?
Okay, well, truth is, most times when people come around and they say, when I have this thing on my mouth, I'm sure it's malaria. I know my body. More often than not, they don't know their body, because they take these medications and they come and say, I took it, but it's like my body is used to that one. Give me something stronger. Am I right?
Yeah.
That's what happens most of the time, and that just goes to show that even when people claim they know their body and they know what it is that is wrong with them, they always, how do you even know your body?
That's the truth.
Like, what do you
body
even-
now?
Some drugs can even react to this. Some anti-malaria drugs actually react to this.
Because even this paracetamol that we are saying that if I have it, I can just take it. You know, you shouldn't take paracetamol with certain medications, with certain kind of meal, or even with alcohol, just like that, you know. Because this drug in itself can harm the liver. Over time, you tend to have people that come down with chronic issues over time, and you don't even know where they actually build up with time. And before you know, it's a major issue, and then you're there thinking, how did we even get here?
Okay, so the question that pops into head is, I understand the part of self-medication, but if I feel a symptom and I take a drug for it and it works, is that drug abuse? Like I said, I know my body. Anytime my right leg is doing me like this,
Yes, it
it's
is.
malaria. And then I go and I buy anti-malarials and they work. Is that drug abuse?
From that particular instance, I feel this is not a question of actually it works, because I'm looking at it from another aspect of having a self-belief, first of all. Now, the self-belief can come in form of orthodox medicine, it can come in form of herbal or whatever. I'll give instances. There are people in the villages where we know in this Nigerian part of our side, where things are the third world countryside. Villages where they have lack of hospitals. These mothers in these villages, they have herbal drugs they use to cure so many things, and they believe so much that this is what they know. Anything white, they don't.
I don't think medicine goes against anything tradomedical. I think in fact, I'll
The climate of
eventually
NAFDAC and checking of drugs and
Yes, I would eventually let any answer, but just to throw perspective and throw light on that, medicine makes most of these drugs from plants. Do you understand?
True.
The problem that medicine has in general with these people is the controlling of the dosage. You don't know how how much
The
of
concentration that is being consumed.
how much of fluoride or whatever it is inside Paco, or how much of paracetamol is inside the leaf. Do you understand? That's the problem that medicine has with it, because most of these drugs are made from plants. But it is how to regulate and say that, okay, that's why drugs have dosages, 100 milligrams, 50 milligrams, 2000, whatever it is. We know that this is the dose that will work for this condition. So let us give this dosage. Now, coming back to okay, sorry, let me allow you. I forgot, sorry, I got carried away. So let me quickly go to Shay and then we'll come back to this.
Yeah, sure.
Now, taking this thing from a spiritual point of view, you know, there were reports, we don't know if they are confirmed or unconfirmed, about Shem, about Methuselah being people who understood the mystic and who had the control of drugs and all these things. What is a spiritual or biblical perspective on highness? And let's not call it drug abuse, on just highness.
Okay, I find that a bit confusing. Let's not call it drug abuse. Let's call it highness. Highness in the context of things like weed, things like cocaine. Is that what we're talking about?
Things of
I'm trying to get a better understanding.
Okay, let me give you a simple definition of highness: an altered state of being. It just makes you feel good. It doesn't necessarily have to be weed or cocaine. Like someone explained, there are different types of high. There's the alcohol, and then there's the substance, and then there are things like gum, all those kind of things. Okay. But it's just to give you that altered state of being.
Okay.
So, what does the Bible have to say about?
Well, you don't even have to go to the Bible. Everybody knows that drug abuse is bad, and the Bible clearly states that. Do you understand? Most importantly, the Bible talks about self-control. You know, last time I said that it's very important that we are able to control ourselves. Now, you're saying that altered state. What exactly is it that you're trying to? Because you know, when you ask people that what exactly is drug, when you ask people, they just say, you know, I just want to be myself. I want to be present here physically, but I don't want to be present here mentally. Yeah. I want day where. Which day you want day?
It puts you in a state of relaxation, basically.
See, there are actually reports here. I don't know if I'll say it's in the Bible, but I've heard that so many people that wrote the Bible were under the influence of certain substances when they wrote it.
No. I bet it's different. Now, let's get something clear. Let's get something clear.
Okay.
Being under the influence of the Holy Spirit is in no way to be compared to being under the influence of any form of drugs. Yeah, let's get that.
Okay, so
now, sorry.
So let me quickly, because you know me, I like throwing light on things. Yes. You just mentioned something about spiritual highness. Yes. If I'm getting you, like, so when you are under the influence of the Holy Spirit, you are high.
No. In the context of what we're talking about, you cannot say that
you're high on the Holy Spirit.
No, being under the influence of the Holy Spirit, being inspired. In fact, the Bible talks about being inspired of the Holy Spirit. It's an inspiration. You can't say now. You can.
Bible, when David, there were times in the Bible when I can say that when I read that part, it suggested that David may have been taking something.
Yeah.
I wish I was taking.
Hold on. Let me give him another perspective. You know, when they wrote Song of Solomon,
that David danced naked.
That has to be under the influence of drugs.
No. It was just happy.
Sorry.
I don't know plenty Bible.
He actually
David did not have to be under the influence to dance like that.
But that's a normal behavior.
Sorry. He did that when he was crazy. Like, no, let's get something clear. Sorry.
Okay.
Let's get something clear.
All right.
Let's correct that statement. Let's get something clear.
Yes, please.
Now, when the Bible said that, when you read that particular passage and say David danced naked, David did not dance naked. Now, let's get something clear. For a king is expected
to be regal
at all times. So when a king strips to the point of having a linen clothes only on himself, it is termed as being. Now, if you read other versions, you will see where he wrote there that the king only had a linen cloth on himself that covered him just from the waist to his knee. There are two things. Let's get that. David did not dance naked. Now, let me ask you. So can I say something now? So when you want to praise God, all of us, and then you are praising and say, let's praise in church. You just say, you know what? Let's dance like one of the churches I attend. You say, you know what? Let's do last dance just to praise God at the beginning of every month, and then you dance. Just give God any kind of dance, and then you just dance. You know, there are some dance steps that you do offbeat, and you do that. Are you saying that you are high by doing that?
Okay. No.
Do you understand? So all of us at some point in time, because he brought in David danced the way he felt that he needed to dance to God.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean that he was high.
He was on your side.
No, you used the word naked.
No. All right. So let's come to, because you mentioned inspiration. So I'm going to come to you, Glory. These substances, taking them gives a sort of inspiration. From a psychologist's point of view, is there any point where that inspiration might turn fatal? Take for instance, there are a lot of people that call themselves Malians. I'm not saying I'm part, and I'm not saying I'm not, but Malians, we know ourselves. And then people like Bella Shmurda, these people that have the social image of people that use these drugs recreationally for inspiration. Is there any point where that could be harmful?
Yes, definitely. That's why we preach against drug abuse and drug use generally. Okay, now when you're talking about recreational drugs, drugs like weed, LSD, all these other drugs, which I wouldn't want to name. But generally, these drugs, like Ope said earlier, what they do is alter your state of being. So they give you this false sense of happiness. And then when you're using the drug, you just feel like, because now the amount of dopamine that has been released is more, and dopamine is a feel-good drug. So you just feel good. And generally, what happens with the inspiration thing is when you feel good and you're confident in yourself, you are able to function. Confidence does a lot. That's why these people do drugs, because it gives them confidence to do some things that they wouldn't be able to do normally.
Yeah.
So when it then gets to this drug, when it becomes fatal, is everything, too much of everything is bad. And these drugs, there is no way you will definitely come down from it.
Okay.
So when you use drugs and you are high and stuff and everything, the dopamine levels will always go down. And then when it then goes down, you that you were feeling a little ecstatic before, and now you're feeling like this. Sometimes the way you feel is, I want to go back to that level. You get to become, I want to go back to that level. And the way drug abuse starts, it's innocent. Starts socially, with
From
friends.
you just test it.
Exactly.
And then, this
friends.
feels very good. I want this again.
Yes. So, and then, when you do it the first time, it feels good. You want to do it again.
Definitely.
Then these drugs, like weed, for instance, contains THC. Cigarettes contains nicotine. Nicotine is very addictive. So you don't know, you think you have control over it, and you're using these drugs. And after a while, you find your body, even when you don't want to take these things, your body is craving it. That's when you become addicted.
Can I ask a cheaper question too? So are you in Nigerian context now? Go to countries like Netherlands, they legalize smoking. From the WHO's research that smokers are liable to die on. There's a country where they smoke. Currently, just 2 or 3 years ago, they just legalized weed now in the whole of Canada. So in all this research now, if you want to bring that context now to Nigeria, will you support them legalizing smoking, which is a drug abuse in one way, or will you support that, or will you be against
in Nigeria?
Yes.
I know my Nigerians, so I like to think what I know of my fellow Nigerians. We don't do things moderately.
Like Oko said, you mentioned something earlier that most of these medicine that you see, most of them are gotten from plants. But the problem between that and herbal medicine is the dosage. Yeah, so that's the challenge that we have with Nigerians. We have to put it bluntly, a lot of us struggle with self-control. I don't see them. Make I use them as I see them. Do you understand? And maybe another thing I would say is growing up, a lot of things that we've heard about will be cause, let's be honest. According to medicine, I think that there's of course there are advantages to taking
Yeah,
that.
medicinal
Yes,
values.
it's medicinal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so at least I know that there are some states in US that
Now let me come to
So-
that. Okay, you quickly.
So actually, in some countries, like in the US, weed is used as a recreational drug. It used to treat chronic pain and for cancer patients, the nausea and vomiting with it. But that one, it has to be prescribed and given at a certain dose.
Yes.
And even there, people misuse this prescription.
Still,
They misuse it.
They sell weed in stores in abroad.
I know. They've
it's not
legalized
an over
it.
the counter.
Over the counter.
No.
Queue to
In
buy
places
drugs.
where
They've
they
legalized it in some
legalize,
in some
you can buy
countries,
them
yes.
over the counter.
Queue to buy weed in the store.
And they don't control how much.
Nobody's controlling shit.
Are you serious?
So,
Right.
Akishola, let me bring this question to you now. So, from what I can tell, you are in support of recreational use
No.
of weed.
Now, what I'm coming to check now is the problem about Nigeria is our society values. Abroad, these people have a system. I think the government is what the problem is. Now, if the government comes down to the modern ways of how things are done abroad, issues like legalizing weed or even we making money from weed industry, it's supposed to be a beans in the cake, just like the way we are so keen on oil and gas here.
Yeah, it's $1 billion
Yes,
industry
in Canada
actually.
and all that. So now I'm looking at the societal control. Are we here? We are so kind of traditional or backwards.
So are set in our ways.
Yes, we don't encourage development.
We don't accept change.
We don't accept change easily, and it's really affecting our industries, affecting our entrepreneurs, it's affecting our businesses, even killing the creativity.
I mean, just look at
You see a Nigerian here that is always so good. When he now gets abroad, given the right tools, it becomes super extraordinary. So this, and over there they have the same thing. I'll give you an instance now. In Canada, they have this LGBT, they call them the gay rights and all that. They all have their own section and their own belief. The system has been able to welcome that kind of thinking. It's a thinking. I'm not just saying the same way we have issues with drug abuse. Drug abuse is a topic, but how we control it and put the mechanism in force to enforce and restrict the usage of these drugs is what we should be looking out for in Nigeria. And creating employment through that means too.
Through that.
But not frustrating or even including tax rules and all that and frustrating development, being greedy, everybody's just concentrating on it. Even the agriculture body tried to introduce nice.
Please don't
Please,
talk about Buhari,
please.
please.
Don't bring
Don't
things that
mention
cause
our
fight.
president.
The Nigerian culture we have to, in a way,
Learn how to
let
accept.
to embrace.
So my question, sorry, please hold on. My question for you still remains: do you encourage it? Are you in support of it? That's the question.
I'm in support
I'm
of
not
it
saying.
in
I'm not
terms of
saying.
the recreational aspect
Yes,
of
that's
it.
what I'm asking you. The recreational
In terms
aspect of it.
yes,
You are
I'm
in support of it.
You legalize it and create employment.
Like everybody,
and
yeah.
let everybody who wants to use it should use it. And
Can I
let
quickly say
it-
something to that? Sorry, please. To what he has said, it's okay to say we should go on and do this, but do we have a system that can actually tackle the downsides to all of this?
The repercussions.
Because Glory, you're a psychologist, and I'm sure you
Yes.
understand how it has been.
Yes.
Even the little one that we have here, look at how much we have to deal with, and we don't even have enough people to deal with that. We don't have a system in place. I don't even want to say we don't have a good system. We actually do not have a system in place to tackle. Now, imagine when it is now accepted and we now accept this as a new in. Do you understand? Do you have an idea how much issues we will have on our hands? I don't think we'll be able to control that.
Sure.
Because truth is, while I was in medical school, we had the opportunity to visit our psych ward and do postings there.
Oh, yes, I do.
Quite a number of the patients there was because of drug abuse. Like
Young
university
people.
students
Young
Very
that had to be admitted because of drug abuse. Even older people that have time and time again come back to this same ward. They are now OGs. All the students
That's
from
the
the
one
100
now.
level, from the 400 level to 600 level, you know them by name. You can't, guy, you don't come back. That kind of thing. So I would not support us legalizing it.
Yes.
Because even abroad, this outside country that we're talking about, they also have issues managing
Yes,
what's the word?
Effects.
The effects and then the exposure of this stuff to the public. You don't want to bring it into this place that is having issues.
But at least they can even still try.
Yes,
But-
and the truth is, even now that it is not legal, it is already a problem. It is a huge problem.
Okay.
Seen from the medical perspective,
Okay.
it is a huge problem. The rate at which people abuse weed these days is ridiculous. You go to parties and it is a norm. See it on the table with the cake, with everything. It's right there. They tell you, do you want them to bring edibles to your party? People are making money off it. I understand recreational use. I understand the use for chronic pain and the rest of that. But as far as I'm concerned, the adverse effects outweigh the benefits, to be honest.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to talk about weed itself here now. There are different types of 18 plus content, but generally talking about weed, we have different types. There's loud, Arizona, all that. I'm not going to mention, and then Colorado. Okay, now you hear people say Marians, Malo, and there's this song that says
Malo five, not for
exactly, not for
Malo
children,
foul.
that kind of thing. Yeah, because this thing now, some of these drugs, and the reason why it will be a major problem in Nigeria is so many times they're synthetic. Colorado is synthetic. Yes, there's it is mixed with, either they mix your drugs with chemicals. You cannot even go to a party, you cannot collect a blunt from a stranger and something and trust that you're smoking good shit. When you see people say they got, now one of the issues with drug addiction and drug use is sometimes your genetic composition, your history, your family history, somebody in your family may have had mental illness, and this altered state of being can then go and trigger something in your genetics, something hereditary, and then suddenly you're displaying psychotic behavior. Okay, now these drugs increase the likelihood of this happening. In a country where you have good rehabilitation centers.
That's one thing I was about to chip in, but finish up.
You have good rehabilitation centers, you can manage these drugs, you know what is going on, and you can be sure of what you are buying over the counter. Abroad, they sell weed over the counter. They know what they are selling. Do you get it? They know what they are selling.
There's a system
But
in place already.
you cannot be sure of what you are buying here in Nigeria. You don't know what you're buying.
Okay, so-
You don't know if it has been mixed.
Okay.
I've heard that they pour cocaine on top of weed.
Okay.
You that your head only carries weed, you think you're smoking weed. Meanwhile, they put cocaine there.
So now, I'm coming to now. I'm coming back. I'm not, like I said. One thing that was my last conversation was, I'm talking about how we accept, or how we socially acceptable highness. This is where I'm coming from. How we're able to embrace it. I remember when I was in Canada, there's a center where we go. We help them clean up their washroom and toilets. The government give these people check weekly to even go and buy that drug that they are addicted to. I'm telling you, this is fact. The government knows. They've understood that this is human beings. It's very hard to control human beings. So the system has to first of all accept. We are not ready to accept first of all in Nigeria. For them to now create errors.
I think that's
so
the
now.
issue.
There are
The
some
problem is
things.
the acceptance.
The acceptance first is what they first of all do.
And that's why the
So they have,
is the socially
they
accepted
even have
part.
centers that they put these people there, that they don't go out of that particular zone. They don't go out of that zone. We put them there.
Which I think
They are being governed, being watched
Which
over.
brings us
But
to
that's
number one, information is key.
Yeah.
Yes, that's number one. Number two, I mean, growing up, I grew up knowing, understanding the fact that anything that has to do with
If you smoke, you are going to hellfire.
wrong. Yeah, but then after a while, with information coming in, we understood. We got to a point where we understood the fact that medicinally is actually good. Do you understand? So first of all, let's get something clear. You can't bring it into the country right now.
Yes.
There has to be a system.
There
in
has
place.
to be
ordinary Panadol,
okay,
extra
if we
paracetamol,
accept
and other
now,
drugs.
if we
we are
accept
using.
now, what next?
Yeah.
Who that we accepted?
The thing I'm looking at now, you are saying there has to be a system, there has to be a system. I believe, first of all, there can be a change in Nigeria. Let's not write Nigeria off. There can still be a change. Why? Because the Bible said it's appointed to man to live or to die once. So death is sure. So these niggas that are actually controlling will still keep the buckets. I'm sorry to say. So we are still going to be the ones in power.
We're not, my
I'm
brother.
telling you,
Don't
we're
come
still
to
going to get to that stage.
Don't come to
So this change we actually experience.
Our fathers are not the leaders
same
of today.
things that the same things that we will still instill. I'll give you an instance. Growing up from the youth, I never believed they can even be a level where you even come here to even discuss with. But because we as generation now are the ones in charge, are the ones actually motivating, and that is why you can see some people say, okay, they want to come on and even discuss.
I get your point.
It's getting the knowledge and usefulness is spreading.
I guess.
So that is why these Malians are the ones actually in a way
Pushing for
See, it's just that we are pressed for
and
time. If
companies,
not for that,
you don't
yeah.
know, if you don't know companies,
Socially accepted
companies
high.
will always want to use
Sorry,
this
yes, it's just that we are pressed for time. But socially accepted high, it includes things like alcohol. Alcohol causes a lot of accidents. So if we are to continue dwelling on this topic, we're not going to stop. Me, I can continue.
Okay.
I think a lot of accidents,
Hold on,
there's
hold
a lot
on.
of medical issues.
Yes.
It's
All
really
right,
comes
all
from
right.
abroad. It's loud talk
Alcoholic
from
liver
abroad.
disease.
All right. So basically, I guess what we can safely say that the conversation concerning topics like this has just started. Like we actually have a whole lot more discussing to do. We know that we have a long way to go in terms of acceptance. We have a long way to go in terms of instituting centers that are able to deal with these things. But the information and the general knowledge that we're trying to pass across is that drug abuse is bad and it can cause problems. Wow, guys, that's been so enlightening and so educative. So we've come to the part of the show where I personally like the most, which is debunking a myth. Is it true? Is it false? We get to find out. So today's myth or reality is, can drugs make you go mad? Again, can drugs make you go mad? The answer is yes. Weed and some of these substances can actually trigger mental illness, especially in people who have a family history of mental illness. That's the history you know, or in some cases, you do not know about. The bottom line is, let us all be very careful and let's not abuse drugs. Till next time when we see you again, it's bye from me.
Oh, take me back to the start.